Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Saturday to each and every one of you. I hope that this weekend will be good for you because it most certainly isn't a good week, and I'm imagining weekend for Cyril Ramaphosa. The Tembisa Hospital scandal has really opened a new can of worms, and there's been a sort of expediency to how fast corruption cases and corruption allegations have been coming out in South Africa. And this really is just par for the course. If you go across the world and you look at every single corrupt government, they all tend to have a very similar lifespan, where in the beginning things are going pretty swimmingly. They all get to steal and they all get to eat and things go well. But as corruption is allowed to fester, it oftentimes multiplies much faster than what you can sort of keep a lid on it. And before you know it, the corruption has gone so far and there's so much of it that it's almost impossible to hide. I also imagine that in South Africa specifically, one of the things that have always plagued the ANC is unlike in the neighboring countries of Africa, where in a lot of cases, when these revolutionary, corrupt governments came into power, there weren't a lot of checks and balances. There wasn't necessarily a very free and fair media. The corporate or the private sector wasn't as developed as it is. The thing that has really plagued the ANC is the fact that whilst they would love nothing more than to turn South Africa into another dictatorship, the Constitution really stands in their way. Not only that, but thanks to their bad management style, they now no longer have the aggression on their side. South Africa has more private security forces than what they have police officers and military personnel kind of combined. So should the government decide to enact their will through force, it stands to reason that the private sector will just stand up and say, no, we don't think you will do that. We'll enforce the Constitution, and you guys can step aside. This is really a problem for the ANC. We look at things like the 2 billion rand looted from the Tembisa Hospital. It should be made clear that this 2 billion rand isn't even the full extent. This is just 2 billion rand tied specifically to 3 separate mafia groups that operate almost exclusively as ANC mafia cartels, because almost all of these people have close ties to either people in the ANC or are just straight up part of the ANC. One such man that has caused a massive headache for our, I hate to say this, esteemed president, is a man by the name of Maumela. Now, Maumela's house was raided earlier, I think early last week actually, or late last week. His house was raided by SIU. This following a massive investigation into the serious allegations of fraud and corruption at the Tembisa Hospital. It's very difficult to say who started the investigations first, but if I go back and I look at News 24's coverage of this, I think that they were actually the ones who kick-started all of it. And thanks to the pressure that they applied, SIU had no other option but to start investigating it. When you think of all of the corrupt scandals that has happened in the country, specifically under Jacob Zuma, oftentimes the corruption scandals would just not be investigated whatsoever. And a lot of the time you would even have the media just sort of keeping mum on the entire situation. As things have started to shift, I think there has been a change. So for example, News 24 oftentimes gets a really bad rap for not being a balanced and fair media outlet. But that's not entirely true. News 24 is plenty fair. They're plenty balanced, provided that it has nothing to do with Cyril Ramaphosa. And of course, whenever it has to do with racial issues in the country, you can expect them to be as biased as all get up. But okay, so the Tembisa Hospital fraud fiasco happens, right? And Cyril Ramaphosa is implicated in this through a video. A video of him stopping outside Maumela's house and embracing what he calls people who just stop him in the street while he's on his walks. I would like to make this very clear. If you're the president of South Africa, you have special security. These people are brutal in their protection of you. I don't think that any random little guy is going to be able to just walk up to the president and say, "How you do?" And then, more importantly, I don't expect the president to just greet you and embrace you like a brother, which is exactly what happened in this video. The president hugged the guy as if he'd known him forever, even though the president to parliament sort of made it sound as if he doesn't know the guy that greeted him. He knows it's not Maumela, although in 2022 he claimed that he doesn't know who Maumela is. Then in 2023, apparently he ran into him outside of his house, but that was the extent of it. Then in front of parliament, he went, "Oh, never mind. I was in fact married to his aunt 47 years ago, and I got divorced to her from her 43 years ago. So yeah, I'm sort of, it went from I don't know this man one bit to okay, I kind of have seen him before to actually he was family at one point, but still I have no idea who this guy is. Again, let's bring in the special protection units for the president and realize very quickly they would know every single neighbor on the street that Ramaphosa walks on. It's important. This is the president of South Africa. His safety is of paramount concern, if you believe some. I don't necessarily agree, but never mind. The point is, they would know who he is. The other problem, of course, is that intelligence, crime intelligence specifically, has been nestled inside the presidency since Ramaphosa put it there. Meaning, Cyril Ramaphosa would have direct access to every single intelligence report that is generated by the country's police services. He is the commander-in-chief of South Africa. He should know all of these things. So it's getting a little tired for Ramaphosa to just continuously say, well, I have no idea who these people are. I have no idea why my general is in Iran. I have no idea why, the ambassador for America would call Trump a white supremacist. I just don't know. It's like, throw your hands in the air and you just don't care. That's Ramaphosa's response to everything. Well, as it turns out, something bad is happening for Cyril Ramaphosa because a neighbor spoke out and said, actually, Ramaphosa has stopped at Maumela's house at least more than 2 times. The neighbor just clarified that at least from all the times that they have seen the president walk on the street, they have seen the president stop at Maumela's house multiple times, and it's definitely more than 2, because the president's claim was that he may have stopped at the house once or twice on his daily walk because people sometimes stop him, and it's just super fortuitous that they would happen to stop him in front of the largest kingpins in South Africa at that very moment. And then you have a neighbor saying, well, actually, no, this has happened far more often. But fear not, because the ANC wants you to know that things are now under control. The Tembisa Hospital scandal will never happen again. There are systems and controls in place to ensure that no corruption will ever happen again. The problem, of course, all of these systems and controls is the very thing that led to the corruption at the Tembisa Hospital. Here's the truth. There is so much red tape in South Africa created by Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC, and all of that red tape exists for one reason and one reason alone: to be able to siphon money to the corrupt cadres in the country. You have to go through so many steps, and you have to sort of qualify to so many different obstacles that ultimately it is only the cadres that ever get through. Cyril Ramaphosa's problems, however, at this point is a lot deeper. If it turns out that he did lie, he lied not only to the media and to the South African public, which in and of itself, I would argue, deserves the harshest sentence imaginable, because as an elected official, you are there to represent the people of the country and to serve the people of the country. If you lie to the very people that you are charged to serve, you deserve, at the minimum, life in prison. But no, here the president would be in breach of lying to Parliament. Now, if South Africa was a genuinely functioning and law-abiding country, that would immediately result in a vote of no confidence, which almost every single member of parliament would have to support if they cared about the law at all. And after that, it could even lead to impeachment and an actual court case to try Ramaphosa and investigate his connections to these incredibly corrupt individuals. It's important to remember Ramaphosa made all of his money through BEE catership. That's it. Ramaphosa isn't a brilliant businessman. Ramaphosa isn't the smartest cookie in the jar. Ramaphosa is a painfully average man, a man with no business acuity, a man that has never built a single thing in his entire life. He wasn't the most spectacular person in the ANC. All he ever did was be in the right place at the right time with the right connections, and he managed to make billions stealing other people's hard work and claiming it as his own. As always, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like if you liked, the dislike if you didn't. Let me know in the comment section down below what you feel of our president. And all I'm going to ask you is to write the word doo-doo, D-O-O-D-O-O, if you think Ramaphosa is a piece of doo-doo. It will confuse people who look at the comments and go, why is everyone writing doo-doo? I don't understand this. And that will be funny to me. I don't know why, but I find stuff like that a little funny. If you want to be part of the channel and you want to support this channel, become a patron and a YouTube member by hitting the link in the description down below or the join button right below this video. And then a huge thank you to all of you that already support the channel. I really appreciate you. As always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.